Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Oh, man, he just solved an unsolvable problem.
And Brandon Schultz.
Why would Earl Thomas want to go to the Cowboys now after they disrespected him by not even thinking that he's worth a second-round pick?
Go Hawks!
This is episode 202 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers. Joining me, my good buddy, Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Finally, Brandon, there's stuff to talk about. I'm excited. This is going to be a huge podcast for you guys. Even though Brandon tried to replace me earlier this week with everybody else, I figured maybe I'd come on the show and talk a little bit about the draft and kind of go from there.
Hey, nothing can replace you, man. I wanted to talk draft right after the draft, and I didn't want to miss out on talking to Rob like we normally do. And Sam came on and was going to do the video for us on Rashad Penny. So it all worked out to where I had a Sunday free and we got a chance to talk. It was good.
Yeah, that's fine. It's cool.
Don't feel bad. So, hey, don't start this off by having a pity party for yourself.
With the interview with both Sam and Rob, who's the leading candidate to replace me? Which one? Who's in the driver's seat?
They both failed.
They both failed.
If it was an audition to replace you, then they both failed. I'm sorry.
Or maybe they both succeeded. I don't know. Then they canceled each other out. Now I'm back.
This is exciting, though. You have, up until this part of the offseason, you've been Mr. Debbie Downer over there. Oh, there's nothing to talk about. It's the offseason. When we sign free agents, there's a little bit to talk about. But now, Adam, we have new players on the team.
Yeah, quite a few of them. And a very interesting draft. When people think I'm basically trolling the audience because I'm not excited about all this other crap, I'm just waiting for real things. And here it is. We have real players, including obviously the feel-good story of the draft. Somebody that I think I had said on the podcast way beforehand that this needed to happen. We needed to reunite the brothers Griffin, and John Schneider did not disappoint.
No, in the 5th round with their very first pick of that round, they go out and select Shaquem Griffin. And one of the things I like to do every year, the Seahawks put out their audio calls to each of the draft picks.
Yeah.
And I like to play them on the show because I think most people may have seen them. I mean, if they're hardcore fans, they're probably on YouTube looking at these. But if you haven't heard them, then this is a good chance to catch up on them, too. I don't know if I need to put a trigger warning out there because if you're a crier, there's probably at least one or two of these that are going to get you.
Yeah. So don't be a crybaby.
Catfish!
Yes.
It's okay if you get emotional. I get a little emotional listening to these.
Do you?
Especially the one with Shaquem Griffin.
Hello? Shaquem.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's John Schneider calling, buddy. How you doing?
I can't even breathe right now.
Yeah, it's a dream come true for us, too, buddy. We're happy to have you, man. You get to play with your brother again, okay? We're going to pick you right here, okay? 141.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, here's Coach Carroll, okay, buddy? Congratulations. Can't wait to see you.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much.
Shaq, you okay?
I can't breathe right now. I'm not going to lie to you.
You still can't breathe.
Oh, my God.
Hey, well, it's a real deal, man. Appreciate you waiting this thing out. I know you've been dying a little bit, but this is a great moment, and we're really excited about it. We're expecting you to come in here and bust ass now. You know that, right?
Yes, sir. I'm going to give you everything I got.
I know you will. I know you will. Congratulations on it. Congrats to your brother, too, and your family. I know everybody's really excited about this, and couldn't be sweeter. Hey, be humble, okay? Be humble as we do this.
I promise you that.
I know. Come in, working your tail. This is freaking awesome. Congratulations. Hey, Shaquem.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. What's up, Coach?
People fired up about it.
It happened.
Yeah.
I leading up to the draft, I was convinced that I was getting myself hyped up for disappointment, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I was very hopeful, obviously, that this would happen. I think, listening to Draftniks going into the draft, I heard a lot of people talk about Shaquem as like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and knowing that we didn't have really any picks there until they traded down and picked up a 3rd, that us getting Shaquem was unlikely, was kind of how it felt. Although I was still hopeful, just kind of pleased, if this could work out, that'd be amazing. To snag him in the 5th, I think is great value because of his production in college. Before the draft, I hadn't really gone and watched much of what he did. Mm-hmm. One thing I'm going to promise Seahawks fans as we go forward with Shaquem Griffin is I'm going to critique in him the same way I would critique anybody else. And so after looking at his tape, I think what we got is a really solid special teams contributor, possibly a situational pass rusher, but he plays very upright. He's going to have to lower that pad level a lot if he's going to be, rushing the passer a little bit more. They talked about him starting out at weak side linebacker, which honestly, that makes a lot of sense after watching his tape a little bit. He just needs to be out in space, running around, chasing people down. That's what his strength is. And I would not expect a starter on defense. Like a lot of people are already penciling him into the defense as if he's a starter. And I just don't think he's that type of player yet.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And fifth round for a guy who plays special teams. And, one of the interesting things that I've been reading, and I don't know exactly where this started, but the idea that he fell to the fifth round because it was an inaccurate time on his 40 at the combine, that he didn't actually run a 4.38. And I'm confused by this because NFL Network did the overlay of him and his brother running at the exact same speed, starting at the same time and finishing nearly at the exact same time. So I don't know where this report came from that the stopwatch started a little bit late, and that's why he got the 4.38 versus maybe like a 4.5 of what he should have got.
Well, all I know is that Pete Carroll and John Schneider were talking, and they said that he was faster on their personal stopwatches than what his actual time was. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then this is all automated?
No, it's not. It's all hand stopwatches.
No.
Yeah.
For the official 40 is just regular stopwatches?
Apparently, because I thought it was automated too.
They've got to have like lasers or something.
When they do the overlays, unless NFL Network is like speeding him up and slowing him down to try and match him up to dudes. But they did an overlay with him and Shaquem Griffin. They did one where it was Shaquem Griffin. It was like Julio Jones and a couple other dudes from different drafts.
Sure.
And Shaquem Griffin was outrunning like Julio Jones. So those are other documented 40 times. I don't know. It was confusing to me to read those reports. Regardless, getting
whatever, dude. He's fast. Yeah. That's all.
He's fast.
That's all you need to know. I didn't want to spend a ton of time on Shaquem just because I think the national media has beat this like a dead horse.
Were you surprised to see the media blow up around this?
No.
I guess I didn't expect it to be as big as it was, and maybe that's
just serious?
I don't know.
Oh my God. These are the stories you eat up, and you're telling me that you were surprised? Man, this is the Sunday feature on the front of the newspaper, right? It's that fluff piece. It writes itself. I mean, are you kidding me? Of course it was going to be a gigantic deal.
I kind of took it from a national perspective, but when I saw Ian Rappaport tweet out that he received a number of media requests from all over the world, I talked to Rob and he said it was on the front page of BBC, and he got requests all over the world from Chinese media, an Italian TV show, South America's version of 60 Minutes. And Rappaport said he's going to turn down almost all of them because he's just going to work on being an NFL player.
Yeah, exactly. We got other things to focus on here, man. Yeah, it's going to be a steep climb for him coming into his rookie training camp, which it is for every single rookie. I'm just looking forward to what he does here in the preseason and just kind of seeing how it all fits together. A cool opportunity, man. And a guy that has, I think, just on a personality basis alone and the grit that he brings to the team, like just that alone, worth a fifth round pick. Fifth round picks wash out all the time. And he may very well wash out real fast. But I mean, just for the grit alone. Yeah,
a guy that has been counted out so many times throughout his life, and not someone you want to count out.
No, and he's somebody I'm obviously rooting for.
Well, the other issue with this was the nameplate issue.
No,
because a lot of people.
Do we really need to talk about this?
I don't know why this is an issue.
It's not. Okay.
Why?
I'm glad we're on the same page.
For one, why do you even have to have your first letter of your first name anyway? Because each player has different numbers.
Correct.
So why? I don't know. But I guess in college they had SL Griffin and SM.
Oh my God, they solved the problem? Holy crap. Whoever figured that out, how to put like SL and SM on the back of the jersey in front of Griffin, man, get them over to the Middle East and solve the Middle East crisis and bring peace to Palestine and Israel. Get him out there to solve world hunger. Like, because, man, he just solved an unsolvable problem. SL and SM. Unbelievable. Outside the box thinking, that guy for president. This is the dumbest thing in the world.
I don't know. I can't understand why they both just can't be Griffin.
Correct. That's the other thing, too. If we just do that, everything buffs out, too. It's just unbelievable.
One's number 26, one's number 49, which I have a little bit of a problem with 49, but I'm not going to dwell on it too much.
What, just because of 49ers?
No, because it's a long snapper number.
Says you. It can be a linebacker number.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell Keem what number he can have and can't have.
I'm not. I'm just saying it looks a little weird to me.
Okay.
Unless he's going to be long snapping.
Hell, he might. You never know.
That would be impressive.
Well, hell yeah, it would be. But I wouldn't put it past the guy.
Well, Adam, before we move on, I want to let people know we did a draft day special last week that went out to those who support us at gettingtheflock.com. Mm-hmm. Adam, you gave your quarterback ratings, and we even talked about some of these guys who were drafted even before Seattle picked them. So, yes. If you missed that, we're probably going to be referencing back to that show just a little bit. And you can actually go right now and listen at gettingtheflock.com. I set it up. It's open to anyone right now, but it was exclusive for a few days to our members of the flock. So,
oh, that's cool. I didn't know you did that. That was a good call. Yeah, basically, just spoiler alert, out of the top 6 quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield was my least favorite of all of them.
And he went number 1.
The most Browns thing ever. Oh, my God, it's the most Browns thing ever.
When he's awesome. Just wait till he's awesome. I can't wait
to watch that train wreck unfold over the next 3. Honestly, not a train wreck, but he's not. I mean, I said it in the pod. It's like, I think he could be a high caliber backup or a low tier starter, but he's not a franchise savior at all. So he's a college quarterback. So it's going to be really interesting to watch that failure unfold.
And the number 1 guy that you picked went to the Bills. So there you go.
Didn't know about those tweets, obviously, before we were talking on the draft day pod. But I'm a little more willing to give somebody a pass on things that they tweeted at 15.
How about we move on and talk a little bit of Rashad Penny, the Seahawks number 1 pick in the first round. We actually drafted a guy in the first round. Mm-hmm. Here was his phone call.
Hello.
Hey, is this Rashad?
Yeah, this is him.
Hey, it's John Schneider with the Seattle Seahawks. Call, brother. Hey, we're picking at we're picking at 27.
Okay, yeah.
You want to get selected here, or you want us to wait and trade back?
I want to get selected now.
All right, brother. Congratulations. We're going to take you right here at 27.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're turning it in, okay? Here's Coach Carroll, all right, brother? Look forward to seeing you.
All right.
Rashad, congratulations. How about that,
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
We are really excited about this pick and know that you have a lot to offer, and you're bringing us a lot, and I hope you're really excited about this. This is a fine club to come to. It's a terrific team, and they're going to be really jacked about you being part of this thing. Get your sights set now. We're going to expect you to do quite a bit now. You're going to be involved in special teams. You're going to be involved with the spot running back, and you're going to have to come in and compete, but you're going to do that just like you always have.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
All right. Hey, well, congratulations.
So Penny, obviously emotional after his call, said he didn't expect to go this early based on what his agent was telling him, and he ends up being the second running back off the board behind Saquon Barkley.
He sounds like a super cool dude, right?
For what we've talked about leading up to the draft, that's one of the things that stood out to me the most about a lot of these guys. Like, they just seem like all chill guys.
Like, really good dudes.
Yeah.
And, so first impression of Penny, just on that front is giant thumbs up. Out of all the selections of this draft, this is the one that makes me scratch my head the most.
Well, you knew they were going to take a running back in the draft.
Yeah. They were either that or, bring in a few more undrafted guys or whatever, right? But you knew they were going to bring in some more depth at the running back position for sure.
Yeah.
So when I look at this pick, it depends on the optics that you look at it through. That kind of make it either a pick where you go, I don't like that at all, or a pick where you're like, yeah, I kind of get it, and this could be cool.
Yeah.
To me, the difference is when I first looked at it, I thought of it in terms of next year. And in terms of next year, I don't like this pick.
Really?
In terms of this pick for the next 2 or 3 years,
yeah,
I kind of like this pick.
Interesting.
So in the difference is that I'm a firm believer, and this is a difference in philosophy, obviously, between Schneider and Carroll and myself. I just don't think a running back makes the offensive line. The offensive line makes the running back. I just don't understand drafting somebody with the running style of Rashad Penny to be a back that's going to make up for a dysfunctional offensive line. Because I don't see that thumper kind of running back. Like, watch tape of Chris Carson, Marshawn Lynch, or Thomas Rawls, and then watch tape of CJ Procise, Christian Michael, and Rashad Penny. Those three guys run similarly, and Lynch, Carson, Rawls run similarly.
Yeah.
They're punishers. They're a tone setter. They're the guys that make the defense want to stop tackling you by the end of the game. That's completing the circle of toughness. Yes, Penny can run inside, but he's more of a slasher. And he'll break an arm tackle or two, but he doesn't punish people. Get him out in space. He's amazing. He's amazing. One of the more talented guys you'll see out in space. Kind of like, LaShawn McCoy a little bit. Not quite as elusive, but really fast and a dynamic back that way. But as that guy that's going to close the circle of toughness for you and really ignite the running game, to me, CJ Procise, Christine Michael way more than he is Marshawn Lynch.
Well, then that makes sense because you already have Chris Carson on the roster. You're expecting things from him.
Who can stay healthy all of how long?
Well, we'll see. It was kind of a freak, fluky injury, much like Thomas Rawls.
Injury issues in college and in high school.
And that was the other thing about Penny. One of the very few backs that actually had a clean medical history. Right. Whereas none of these other guys that they would have selected, you look at the list of all the running backs that came off the board right after Penny. New England took one, the Browns took one, Detroit took one. And all of those guys had those types of issues leading up to the draft. The Seahawks said they want guys who can be on the field.
Right.
In that way, it kind of makes sense. If you look at the history of Pete Carroll and the types of running backs, at USC that they had, he always had two running backs. One was a, lower shoulder boom into guys. And the other guy was, look back to when they had Reggie Bush. Who was, the burner type guy who could make dudes miss. And then they had the dude that was the thumper.
Lendale White.
That was the thumper of the two. So I could see Carroll wanting to get back to that type of running attack to where you have multiple guys.
So that's on the one hand where it doesn't make a lot of sense to me just this year, right? Because I just don't see enough attention paid to the offensive line to warrant a huge belief in improvement there. But if you believe that they're going to get this offensive line thing right over the next 2-3 seasons with a couple more drafts, a little more free agency, a trader here or there, then in 2 or 3 years, I get this pick a lot more. Because if you have an offensive line that creates a small crease up the middle, Penny will find it and he'll go to the house every time for life. I mean, he's unbelievably explosive. So you combine that type of talent in the backfield with Russell Wilson, who stresses a defense with both his legs and his arm. Now you've got an offense that's super multiple and should scare the holy bejesus out of people. So in that term, if I'm looking at it long term, it makes some more sense to me. But just for the team this year, I would have rather seen them pick somebody in the trenches, maybe another corner. I mean, it wouldn't have to be another corner. Just somebody in the trenches on either side of the ball. And I think that would have been a more solid pick there.
Not enough attention to the offensive line. The Seahawks haven't paid enough attention to the offensive line, you're saying?
Well, so there's two ways to look at that, too.
Firing their offensive coordinator, firing their offensive line coach, going out and getting the best blocking tight end in free agency in Ed Dixon, the best one available, going out and getting Mike Solari, getting Brian Schottenheimer, who's focused on the run game, and spending a third-round draft pick on bringing in Dwayne Brown, one of the better, Pro Bowl left tackle.
Yeah, so that's the other way to look at it, right? Is that they
re-signed their center. They had Ethan Posick last year as a second-round pick. Jermaine Ifedi was a first-round pick the year before. And then they brought in DJ Fluker, who I think is going to be just as good this year as Will Hernandez is going to be for whatever team with the Giants.
That's possible. So basically what you have to do is believe that the coaching change is going to be the big change. And that's because you can't fire all the players, but you sure can fire the coach, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea being that there'll be a significant amount of improvement out of 5 guys just by changing the coach and adding Fluker. Because the way the Seahawks are looking at it possibly is, yeah, man, I spent a second and third round pick this year on offensive line. His name's Dwayne Brown. And so if you look at it through that lens, you go, okay, well, they did address the offensive line and bring in a franchise left tackle. And so now they're pairing it with a running back. So like I said, it's a head scratcher to me, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. Because everybody has to have a hot take, right? Like, this is the greatest pick ever. I can't stand this. I'm a little more like, okay, let's wait and see, but didn't make the most sense to me.
One thing that I do like watching Penny's runs, though, a lot of them behind a fullback. So if that's a look at where this offense is going with Russell Wilson and Rashad Penny, and actually they brought in 2 different guys as undrafted free agents to be fullbacks. They have a couple fullbacks on the roster. I'm kind of thinking that the Seahawks are trying to get back to running with a fullback,
which is very interesting and something I'd like to see. One thing about Penny that I think is kind of polarizing for people. I think people that are super into analytics love Rashad Penny. I think people who look more just at film are a little bit more dubious about him, because this whole metric of him being like, 3 yards more per carry after contact than Saquon Barkley was?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that metric did not line up with the eyeball test. And I don't know exactly why that's the case, but it seemed like, maybe a guy would get a hand on him and then he would break it for 40 yards and that counted for all yards after contact or something. But
yeah, that's what I saw too.
There's a few runs that you looked at and you were like, okay, like I see it. But then you see games like his Boise State game this year where that looked like the Seattle offensive line out there trying to block for him. And he ended up with like 50 yards on the day.
Definitely one of his roughest games.
Right. But you're never as bad as your worst. You're never as good as your best.
Yeah.
So I think we got a third down back that doesn't block well in pass protection and is a dynamic kick and punt returner.
Oh, I think he's a first and second down back.
To thump who?
You don't need a thumper on first and second down.
Yes, you do. That's the whole point. It's the whole point. Unless you're relying on the fullback to be the thumper, I guess. I don't know. You got to wear people down.
Yeah, that's why you put a fullback ahead of them.
And that's not this guy. It's not who he is. And it felt a little frivolous to spend your first draft pick on a skill position. Like, I mean, we needed more dudes in the trenches. Although at the end of this draft, I'm kind of excited of the way the defensive line is shaping up. That's for sure.
Well, and it all started with their first pick on the second day of the draft by getting Rasheem Green out of USC.
Hello?
Rasheem.
Yeah.
Hey, it's John Schneider with the Seattle Seahawks calling, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, man. Hey, we're getting ready to pick here in round 3. Pick number 15, 79 overall, okay? You wanna join the Seahawks?
Yes, sir, man. I feel like a dream come true.
Come on in and rush a passer?
Yes, sir.
All right, maybe play the run a little bit, right? I'm kidding. Here comes Coach Carroll, man. Congratulations, okay, buddy? You're a Seahawk.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Hey.
All right.
What's up?
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, Coach?
How about we bring a little fight on up here, huh? You ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is really fun. We got you coming here. We really liked your visit. You did a great job with us. We know that you got so much upside, and we're just really excited about it. So we pick a Trojan, and we make you a Seahawk. How about that?
Yeah, man, I'm thinking lots for it, Coach. Thank you.
Good for you.
Well, Carroll mentioned it in the call there, and it's all about upside, it seems to me, with Rasheem Green, right?
Yeah, it does seem a little bit about upside. He's a 4-year player, correct?
No, is he a 2-year player? He's only 20 years old.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, I didn't realize he was that young. To me, grading offensive and defensive linemen, like when you watch them play, is maybe the most difficult thing to do from my end of things. Just being a fan who talks about sports, right? I stopped playing center in the 7th grade, so it's tough for me to really evaluate that. But just watching a little bit of his highlights and those sort of things, if you just compared their bodies, him and Michael Bennett look a ton alike. They're kind of built almost exactly the same way. And that idea of playing him inside and outside, I mean, this draft pick was the Michael Bennett replacement. That's the idea. Now, whether or not he can have that kind of production is a whole nother question. But sure. I do like what he did in college. He was able to get after the quarterback. And I think he could develop a little more strength to play the run game and be just fine. I know you're going to send him some sand. So whatever he's supposed to do with that, I don't know if that's supposed to be junk sand or sand in his pants, or I don't know what your plan was with that. But
based on Lance Zierlein's draft profile, right? That was the big critique on him, was that he didn't have enough sand in his pants. He was the sand in the pants guy. So the Seahawks go out and get him. And he was I guess a 3-year starter at USC, and he actually started as a true freshman. And so I think that's why he's so young at 20 years old and then coming out as a junior. But 12 and a half sacks last year from the interior defensive line spot. Clear, and the Seahawks see him more as a defensive end in their system versus playing inside. Yeah, considering the other talent they have to play inside, I totally see that. Or in the vaunted NASCAR package, right? Right, where you put him inside. He could ship down inside. I think this is a cool pick, judging by body type, ability, need. They get this 3rd round pick because they were able to trade back in the first round from 18 down to 27. I think it worked out well. I know what you mean, though, about judging defensive line guys, because when you watch a guy on defensive line, especially when it's somebody who's playing interior in college and then they're projecting him to be an outside player, because you look at him and you go, oh yeah, well, there are a lot of run plays where he got just mowed over by another NFL caliber talent on the offensive line. But with a lot of guys, I think back to Frank Clark and looking at his college tape, and I go, I wasn't excited necessarily about what I saw there, but he's developed into a great NFL player. Yeah, I think that was a great comparison there, because watching Frank Clark stuff, I was like, yeah, he does some cool things. Like this could be a good player. It's tough for me to judge personally, but I kind of like where we're going. And one of the position groups that you look at Pete Carroll and John Schneider and you say, do I trust them to be able to identify talent that they can work with and coach them up for that position group? And D-line is definitely one of those positions for me. I trust in Pete and John when it comes to the D-line, no doubt. Well, I trust in John and Pete when it comes to selecting NFL draft players from Montana. And Billy Bozeman, Will Dissly, tight end out of University of Washington, selected in round 4 overall. Here's his call.
Hello?
Hey, is this Uncle Will?
This is Uncle Will.
Uncle Will, hey, John Schneider calling, buddy.
How are you doing?
You doing good, man?
I'm doing great.
Good. You're going to have to move all the way over to the east side, brother. We're going to take you right here, okay?
No
catfish! No catfish!
All right, man. I can't wait to be a Seahawks.
Yeah, dude. We're fired up. We're going to take you at 120, bud. Here's Coach Carroll, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to turn it in right now, bud. All right.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, congratulations, Will.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is something we've been looking forward to, and we've got a whole kind of set of expectations for you, and it's going to be really, really good deal. We're pleased to get you. It's cool that you're staying close in the area and all that, too, so congratulations, brother. Nice deal.
Yeah, Coach. Appreciate that. I'm ready to work, man.
I know you are. We'll just kind of come across the street and come get us, okay? Hey.
Yep.
We got big Will Dissly, boys.
Hey.
Yeah, everybody's ready to go.
Thanks, guys. Go Hawks.
Oh, yeah, go Hawks. That's right.
Even drops a Go Hawks at the end, and after dropping a couple S-bombs, early on. That's the kind of Montana guy that you expect. Yeah, absolutely. That was the most Montana phone call ever, for sure. Hey, we're going to take you in the NFL draft. No shit. Catfish! Okay. Yeah, but my two favorite things of that, number one was was him just dropping that, and then the second part was when Coach Carroll made everybody cheer for no reason, and he had the perfect response to that,
Yay! Because it was lame. And so I like that. I dig this pick.
You know, that's another guy that's converted from defensive line to offensive line. So, except he did it at the college
offensive
level.
Line, he's a tight end.
He plays on the line with the other members of the offense.
Correct. So by that definition, if whatever receiver lines up on the line in any given formation is now an offensive lineman too, by your definition.
No, I mean, unless he is lining up, like even a guy who lines up in the slot is a little bit detached from the line.
At least he made that conversion in college and has a couple years of experience playing the position before he comes to the NFL. That's a big bonus right there.
It is a big bonus. And a lot of people saying that, you know, it's almost like adding a de facto member of the offensive line just based on his blocking ability at the University of Washington, which is, that's kind of cool.
Look, we heard all about Nick Vannett being the best blocking tight end in the draft. That's what we're hearing this time with Disley.
Yeah, I know.
And so we got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But if I'm going to be as honest as I can be looking at this, I think Disley's a better blocker.
Yeah.
Man, he gets his hands on people and it's game over. I mean, he just doesn't get moved. He's a real bulldog out there. Actually, I want to nickname him the Moose because that's what he looks like to me. He just looks like a freaking moose out there. Plays mad and is strong as hell.
Nice.
Like, it's kind of awkward when he's running. You know, because he is a former D lineman, but he's got decent hands. The comparison, I think.
See, John said he had the softest hands ever.
Really? Well, he must use a lot of lotion.
I don't know if he said ever, but he did say he had super soft hands.
But their comparison to Zach Miller, this is the closest thing we've had to Zach Miller since Zach Miller. I think that's a decent pro comp. He runs a little like Zach Miller. He's not running past people. He's not running the seam route. You know, he's not Gronk. But he kind of, when he gets out there and catches the pass, he punishes people like Gronk because he's a monster.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Uncle Will, Billy Bozeman, the Moose.
Why Uncle Will?
Because he's an uncle and his name's Will.
Is that really where that comes from?
Yeah, I guess he has a young niece.
All right. I thought maybe there'd be a cooler story to that.
No, it was kind of weird hearing Schneider say it, but I like Billy Bozeman better.
Okay,
he'll be the Moose.
Yeah,
Although there's Moose Johnson from the Cowboys. Isn't Moose kind of already taken?
From which decade? And who remembers Daryl Johnston anyways, except for you and me and a few Cowboys fans? Actually, they don't remember Daryl Johnston because they don't remember crap about their team. Fairweather fans.
Yeah, you didn't get Earl Thomas either, so suck.
Catfish! Yeah, we'll save that a little bit for my do better.
Okay.
But I like Disley. I think that's a cool pick. We need a token Montana guy in the team, and he needs to come on the show. Just give me a name. I'll start making calls, dude. We'll get people.
Well, another person who might be one of my favorite picks, and I definitely want on the show, Trey Flowers, the safety out of Oklahoma State. As soon as I found out that he was a fan of the Golden Girls, I didn't even need to look at the tape, Adam. My next jersey might as well be a Trey Flowers jersey.
You guys are going to get along famously. No doubt about it.
Golden Girls brings dudes together.
Yeah. Again, another guy that's going to be difficult to look at his college stuff and really know how he translates to corner, but he seems to have the ball skills.
He was a thumper, too.
Yeah, he was definitely a thumper. Good tackler. He looks like a Seahawks corner out there playing. No doubt about it. He's got the physical attributes for it. Again, you talk about those positions that you just look at John and Pete and go, oh, this guy's got the measurables? Okay, yeah, draft him wherever it is you draft him, and he'll be a starter. And they will. Trey Flowers will be a starter one of these days.
Yeah, well, it doesn't always work out. I mean, you go back to the dude from LSU.
Thurl Simon,
yeah.
Well, injuries.
That's true.
But, I mean, really, the track record is pretty fantastic when you think about it in terms of corner. So this is one of those picks where I go through the draft, I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me they picked a corner in the 5th round? That seems to work out. We should do that every year.
Yeah, speaking of Byron Maxwell, who re-signed with the Seahawks with apparently a $3 million one-year deal, or up to $3 million. So we got that news that it was going to happen during the draft. That's good news for the Seahawks, too.
Do you think that the Seahawks were waiting to see if they would get their next pick in the draft, the punter, before they re-signed Maxwell? Just because they thought that they could eventually free up a little cap money when John Ryan's no longer on the team?
That could be because Michael Dixon, punter, selected with their 3rd pick in the 5th round. I see a lot of people making a big deal about, the Seahawks, they traded up to select a punter.
Doesn't that crack you up?
What, the fact that they make a big deal of trading up when it was a 7th round pick?
Yeah. Seahawks traded up to get a punter. That was a mistake. They threw a bag of Cheetos at him, and they took it.
Yeah.
Like it's really the equivalent of that.
A middle of the 7th round draft pick.
Yeah.
For a guy that they probably ended up getting as an undrafted free agent anyway.
Yeah, whoever they would have chosen with that 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think Dixon would have been there as an undrafted free agent. I mean, this is the best player at his position.
Yeah. And, people will go, oh, well, don't draft a punter in the draft. Well, 3 other teams drafted punters in the 5th round. As soon as Dixon came off the board, you had 2 other teams going, and I think Green Bay was one of them, trying to get another punter off the board in the 5th round before they missed out on whoever was left. So the Seahawks out ahead of everybody else by selecting a punter and a guy who was clearly the best punter in college last year.
So these NFL experts, do they think that it's a good idea to pay a punter top money? Because that's what you do if you have a veteran that is a top punter, you end up paying him. So at the end of the day, you're going to invest something into a punter. Do you want to invest cap space or do you want to invest draft capital? And clearly the Seahawks have looked at this and they thought we would rather invest draft capital and free up some cap space at the punter position. If he just comes into camp and just does average punter things,
they're going to save money at punter.
Correct. Which stinks because we all love John Ryan.
I know.
We all love John Ryan. Let me say it again. We all love John Ryan. John Ryan, thank you for the time on this team. Longest tenured Seahawk. One of my favorite players, without a doubt. Special teams are a thing to me. I might be a nerd that way, but I think, punters are cool too. But everything that has a beginning has an end. And he's in his mid-30s and taking up $2 million in cap space, roughly. Look, man, it all makes too much sense to bring in a kid who was an MVP of a bowl game.
Which is wild.
That is wild.
A punter getting an MVP of any football game, really.
Correct. And here's the thing. For all the people who are like, oh, I can't believe you traded up for a punter and drafted a punter. How can... These are the same people that dismiss special teams as 1/3 of the game. These are the same people that don't see the value in having a good place kicker instead of somebody like some retread like Blair Walsh. Did that 1/3 of the game count for a huge part of this season this year, Brandon?
Made a difference, yeah. Made a big difference.
So don't sit here and tell me this was a wasted draft pick for somebody who could be dominant at 1/3 of the game.
Yeah, we're talking to you, Pete Prisco.
On top of that, if you want to play defensive football with a smash mouth run game and play field position, you need a hell of a punter.
Absolutely.
This pick dovetails into drafting a running back, bringing in DJ Fluker, all of it. It all dovetails together.
And an Aussie.
They're usually entertaining, the Aussies. And so, like, I'm going to have to work on my Aussie accent.
No, don't do that.
Crikey. Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be something. There's a word, right? What word do they use? What's the, like, Canada, it's like what is there a phrase that is associated with Australians? An Australian accent?
Well, just go back to
G'day?
your Crocodile Dundee days, yeah?
Is it just g'day?
Don't do it.
Don't kill my joy.
This was the guy that we talked about after the combine who said he was challenged to a staring contest by the Seahawks in the interview portion. And so apparently, you wonder what a good staring punter could do. Apparently things like he can do.
And one cool thing, John Schneider talking about this kid, just saying he can do things with the ball that we've never seen before. And I watched a little feature that Texas had done on him with his background in Australian rules football, which is primarily a kicking game. He's got some cool skills. And think more, is Johnny Hekker worth a 5th round pick to you?
Absolutely. Johnny Hekker, you look at the field goal kicker for Justin Tucker for the Ravens. Any of those special teams players you would easily spend a 5th round pick on.
Yeah, this guy's ball skills as a kicker feels a lot like Johnny Hekker to me. And I think that's a nice get.
In the draft, every year we say you get 1 or 2 starting caliber players, then it's a good draft. You get 2 to 3 starters, you're an excellent draft. If he ends up taking the spot of John Ryan and being the starting punter over the next 4 years, you're one position away from having a good draft. Only one of these other guys has to work out for it to be a good draft.
Correct. And odds are that will happen. So, yeah, I think this is a home run. Honestly, the punter might be the most impactful player chosen out of this draft.
Especially when you consider what impact they can. Yeah, I could see that.
So, yeah, everybody. It's not like they picked Brian Anger over Russell Wilson here.
Not a third-round punter. It was interesting, though, to hear John Schneider talk about in the press conference about the time that Green Bay drafted a third-round punter, and he came in, and the guy that he got beat out by and ended up, they wasted a pick on a third-round punter because John Ryan came in and beat him out.
So what you're saying is John Ryan knows how to beat out drafted punters.
He's had experience with it.
Yeah.
Although he might not want to screw around so much on the practice field and training camp this year.
Yeah, I think catfish. It just got real for him.
Well, next pick up, their fourth pick of the fifth round. They finally go offensive line with Jamarco Jones, the left tackle out of Ohio State.
Yeah, difficult to project again. I mean, with these, I honestly didn't watch any of his tape.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah.
Okay, I did watch a little bit of him. He is definitely a better run blocker than a pass blocker.
Interesting.
Looking at Ohio State, too, they ran the ball, I think, 40 times a game, only passed the ball about 30 times a game. So watching a lot of their games, I mean, they're running a lot of run plays and not a whole lot of pass plays. And if they were pass plays, they're kind of quick passes. So, tough
to get a sense.
But when the quarterback did drop back, there were a lot of times where especially if he was going up against a guy who was NFL caliber at his position on the opposite of him, he was getting beat a lot inside, just with hard moves to the outside. And then the guy would dip in, and he just didn't really have the speed, I think, to get after guys in the passing game. But he looks solid in the run game as a left tackle. Yeah.
So they're still planning on keeping him at left tackle, it sounds like. With that said, if you're Jermaine Ifedi, keep your head on a swivel a little bit. Now, this could be a guy that comes in and competes at the right tackle spot, too, for all you know. I mean, one of the things, just reading about this guy, pretty much everybody agreed that he was on the board a lot longer than anybody else would have predicted. So in terms of that whole value thing, I guess they got it here that way. I like that they picked an offensive lineman. I hope that he can play.
He actually played O-line.
Yeah, exactly. I like the idea that he actually played O-line. I also like the idea that he wore the double knee braces in college. Usually those guys are tough. I don't know why, but that's usually a good marker.
Well, here's Jamarco Jones with John Schneider.
Hello?
Hey, is this Jamarco?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Jamarco, this is John Schneider. I'm the general manager for the Seahawks.
How you doing?
You doing good, man?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, we're going to select you right here at 168, okay?
Yes, sir.
You doing okay? Come on, man. Get fired up. All right, get ready to come up here and kick some ass, all right?
Yes, sir.
Bring that long-ass wingspan up here, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Here's Coach Carroll, okay?
Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Jamarco, how you doing, buddy? Congratulations.
I'm doing great, Coach. How you doing? Thank you.
Good. All right. Yeah, you're coming to the Seahawks now. I like that you choked up a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Hey, well, get fired up. It's great to touch base with the Buckeyes, too. We like all that. So congrats to you.
Yes, sir.
We'll be in touch with you and let you know what's going on. Come in here to kick ass, okay?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank you for the opportunity.
You got it. Congratulations. Here you go. Jamarco, here we go, buddy.
No, you mentioned a guy that was maybe on the board a little bit longer than he expected, and certainly sound relieved to be selected in the fifth round there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that is tough to hear on the phone calls always is are they choked up or do they not really know what to say or what? I think he was kind of choked up.
He was clearly choked up. And next up, go to Jake Martin, a defensive end, a potential edge rusher out of Temple. And this was another guy that we talked about leading up to the draft, Adam, because Jake Martin, you might remember, he wore number 9, a single-digit number for Temple. And that's the at Temple, they only give their toughest players single-digit numbers.
All right, so that's this guy. Okay, because he has such a generic name, it is impossible to find any highlights of him or anything. I really couldn't find anything. I don't know how he plays. I just know that he's the right size to play that Leo position. And I mean, I'm not breaking any news here. This is what everybody's saying about the guy. He can come in and go ahead and compete with the guy that I can't remember. And, Yeah, maybe give us a little depth there.
Well, here's the call with Jake Martin.
Hello,
Jacob.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, it's John Schneider, general manager of the Seahawks.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, man. You ready to go in here and get after the quarterback and play on teams and be a total ass kicker for us?
Yes, I am.
All right, man. We're gonna select you at 186 right here, partner.
Okay, cool. Thank you, man.
Congratulations. Here's Coach Carroll. Okay.
All right.
Jacob, congratulations, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Coach?
Good. Seems like you were just here.
I was just there.
Yeah, well, you did a really good job in presenting yourself and standing up for yourself, and the coaches are really fired up to get you. Like John was saying, we expect you we want you to rush the passer, and we want you to get that 235. You don't need to be that. You can get as big as you want to get. We'll work on that, and then the special teams thing is going to be huge for you too. And we're counting on you in all phases. So congratulations. Bring that big heart of yours, and away we go. Jacob Martin, fellas, we got
appreciate it. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
It's pretty interesting when you play the Jamarco Jones call back to back with the Jake Martin call, because here you guy who's super emotional, Jamarco Jones, and then you call Jake Martin and you're like, "Hey Jake, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?"
It's about time you called.
Yeah, I was expecting you to call a little bit sooner, but hey,
What'd you have for lunch, John?
Right.
Like, how are things? Very just cool as a cucumber, no doubt about it. Interesting to see what he does, because that's the thing about these drafts, right? Is there's always 2 or 3 guys that surprise you. Like last year, we got to the Chris Carson pick discussing the draft, and I was like, oh yeah, and then some running back named Chris Carson. So
and then he turns out to be one of the best draft picks of last year's selection.
Yes.
So you don't know.
Well, one guy I do know about, and that's 7th round pick Alex Magoo. Thanks for coming by for a cup of coffee. Enjoy being a camp arm. Best of luck, dude.
Hey, we know how to pronounce his name now, so there's that.
Lucky us.
Although I think he might have a better chance in the NFL if he changes pronunciation just a little bit.
Yeah, I think he should work on that. No, just he's very much a college quarterback.
Which is what you're usually going to get in the 7th round of the draft.
Yeah, so I guess they felt like they needed to draft a quarter. I don't know. Everybody's saying, well, they needed to draft a quarterback. Well, why?
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with them drafting this guy, but like the pundits are like, they needed to draft.
Yeah, they didn't need to. They didn't need to just to do it. They already signed Austin Davis, and they got the other dude from the Colts. I feel like there's enough competition there as it is. I was really surprised, and I don't know why Akram Wadley, the running back out of Iowa, I know he's an undersized guy, but I wouldn't have minded seeing them go running back again with the 7th round pick and just bring in more dudes to compete there. He ends up going undrafted, gets picked up by the Titans. Yeah, I didn't see the point necessarily either to go quarterback.
But it's fine.
Maybe they really like this guy. Maybe he does turn into something, or maybe they just need Magoo to be a practice squad type player for whatever practice squad quarterbacks do.
They run the scout offense.
Yeah, maybe this guy's really good at running scout offenses.
Right. So to mimic qualities that other quarterbacks have in their offense, that's what they do.
He might be really good at that.
Maybe.
The one stat, though, that and I talked about it with Rob, and John Schneider brought it up in the press conference, was quarterbacks, that there were 3 of the top 3 quarterbacks of their accuracy when moving. It was Baker Mayfield, number 1, Sam Darnold, number 3, and then the number 2 guy was Alex Magoo.
I could see that. After just watching snippets of him play, I could see that. He's abysmal from the pocket, but okay. I mean, it's fine. Any undrafted guys that stick out to you? I have one.
Oh, Poona Ford, for sure.
He's the guy, right? Like, I think that could be, because you got to include the undrafted guys in your analysis of a draft, right? Yeah. And man, just based on reputation, I love it. And I love the idea of the short defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, this screams John Randall.
And super long arms. So a guy who's probably already going to win the pad level by being 5'11" and 300 pounds. And then also to have the arm length to be able to get into guys' pads. Yeah, he was my number 1. Khalid Hill, the fullback, who we talked a little bit about from Michigan, just based on his short yardage ability, the fact that he's played fullback, played a little bit of tight end, so he had some versatility. He was a guy that I liked. And then Skylar Phillips, guard from Idaho State. when I read that his in his draft profile, it said his arms look like most people's thighs.
Well, they better. I mean, because I think it's tough to play offensive line with a first name like Skyler. That doesn't invoke toughness. You know what I mean?
I think there's a George Carlin bit around that, isn't there? There's
got to be. Yes.
He can go play with Todd and Tucker.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. But
yeah, so we'll see. But I'm excited about Poona Ford. You start thinking about the defensive line right this year, and boy, does it feel deep. It feels very deep. And kind of watching the way the league has gone, I think, like the Eagles last year, I think were a good example of this. You have some star players. I mean, you have to have a couple star players on your defensive line.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be just 5 stars, right? It can be 2 stars and like 8 other pretty damn good dudes. And I think that's what you have. And in fact, I think it's advantageous. I think being able to rotate your D tackles through and your DNs through and keep them fresh and be relentless going after the quarterback and holding up to the run, I think has more advantages when the whole game is played out. So I kind of like the look of this defensive line so far.
Yeah, I think they spent a lot of their time in free agency getting 1-year players on the defensive line when they already had, guys like Jaron Reed, Nas, and then
Nas
you take
Jones
in the 2.
Back.
Yeah.
You take in the 2 Minnesota tackles, and now you bring in Poona Ford to add to that mix. That D tackle group looks pretty cool.
One of those guys might not be getting a job.
Or you keep them all for rotational purposes.
Yeah, well, you could probably keep 5 defensive tackles, but I mean, you're talking Quentin Jefferson, another guy who's coming back and looking.
There we go.
He's going to have a tough time making the team.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I really like the way the defensive line is shaping up for this next year. No doubt about it.
Well, just running down the list of some of the other undrafted free agents, there was Emmanuel Beal, linebacker from Oklahoma, Tanner Carew, a long snapper from Oregon, Marcel Frazier, a defensive end out of Missouri, Jason Hall, safety out of Texas, another Texas player.
I'm going to need to go and watch some long snapper tape, it sounds like.
Yeah, for Tanner Carew. A lot of Oregon Ducks fans have been saying that they really like this pick.
Okay.
Because it's the guy that you don't really know his name, and that's exactly what you want from a long snapper.
Well, I suggest he gets acquainted with Mr. Michael Dixon, and spends a lot of time with him. Because if they develop a strong rapport, I think that's going to be better for his deal.
Another Oklahoma State player, too, to go along with Trey Flowers, Brad Lemblade, the center from Oklahoma State, Marcus Martin, a defensive end who's converting to fullback out of Slippery Rock.
You just like Slippery Rock?
Yeah, a little bit. Jacob Pugh, linebacker of Florida State. Pew, pew. Caleb Scott, wide receiver out of Vanderbilt. And then just a couple more players here. Karan White, a wide receiver out of West Virginia. Taj Williams, a wide receiver out of TCU. And Eddie Wilson, defensive tackle out of Purdue. Some undrafted wide receivers there. See, one of those guys could end up making a difference.
Yeah, I mean, that there's going to be a couple of those guys. They are every year. That's one of the things the Seahawks are known for is their ability or their opportunities that they offer undrafted free agents to really have a strong shot to make the squad. It'll be interesting to watch throughout the training camp and the preseason.
All right, Adam. Well, I think that does it for our look at the draft picks. You know what? We're probably going to be talking about these guys now that we have some content for the offseason. We'll be looking more at these players for sure as we get down through the offseason.
Are you not going to ask me for my draft grade?
Oh, do you care to give one?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear your draft grade, Adam.
Yeah, this is important. My draft grade is a Q for quality. I think it was a quality draft.
My draft grade is an H.
For hell yeah?
For hoopla, because it's very low on the hoopla scale.
Ah, gotcha. No, that's good. I think our draft grades are just as good as anybody else's. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it does bring up a guy I wanted to mention I'm putting him on my do better watch list. I'm not gonna give him a do better for this.
I didn't know you had a do better watch list. Like I made it up. That's amazing.
I made it up as soon as I saw this. Because my do better's full this week, but I'm putting this guy on notice. And that's Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports of the Shutdown Corner segment. Let's read what he had to say about the Seahawks draft, just so it's documented. I'm not sure what the Seahawks were doing. Pete Carroll told ESPN's Louis Riddick the Seahawks want to, quote, reset and get back to running the ball, which seems like a bad idea past first league when Seattle has one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But the picks of Rashad Penny in the first round and blocking tight end Will Dissly in the fourth align with that philosophy. This probably sums up the Seahawks draft. They picked a punter before an offensive lineman, and they desperately need help on the line. And the Seahawks traded up for that punter, though Michael Dixon is a good one. Penny might have been the most surprising pick of the first round. Seattle was drafting to be a ground and pound team instead of getting help for Russell Wilson in the pass game. And in general, it treated the draft like it could make luxury picks instead of filling holes on a roster that is suddenly in decay. Though I do love that Seattle gave us a wonderful moment with the Shaquem Griffin pick, and I do like that pick strictly from a football standpoint. I'm stunned by its approach this offseason. Grade F.
You know, it's funny. It's really interesting to hear the way people talk about this team and John Schneider in the roster, because just 2 years ago, he could do no wrong and the Seahawks were a powerhouse. And now suddenly the roster is in decay. Or if you listen to Adam Lefko on the Lefko and Sims podcast, that they're just in shambles and that basically John Schneider has created an abject disaster. It's just the speed of which these guys flip their opinion on what these guys are doing is freaking amazing. Now, one thing I do know is that universally, a lot of poor draft grades, right?
Yes.
Like D's or F's or whatever, right?
They probably have more D's and F's than most. Yeah.
Then it's probably an A. Because when they were giving us A's and B's, they were so-so drafts.
Yeah, it's funny how the draft grades are completely, they don't have anything necessarily to do with the actual draft picks. I think it's how a lot of draft analysts feel about the teams in particular, because the same guy gave the Rams an A in the draft, a team that didn't have a first round pick. They didn't have a second round pick. I don't even know if they had a third round pick, but he gave the Rams an A for using their picks in trades. And for some reason, he doesn't even bring up the fact that the Seahawks traded draft picks away to get Dwayne Brown this past season. So,
nope, aced it.
Rams aced their draft.
Yeah, it's funny because they are the media darlings this year, are they not?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah,
oh man, watching them crash Earth is going to be just a joy. So I've talked about this a few times, but one of the things that is never mentioned about the Rams is like they lost a bunch of their offensive staff this last year. They got poached. And that stuff makes a difference. Sure. I know Sean McVay is still there, but he doesn't have his lieutenants. Man, this year, just everything sets up for utter disaster for the Rams this year. It sets up perfectly.
I love the high level of expectations. It's just going to make it feel oh so good when they come crashing down.
Yeah, combined with a coach with no experience, a bunch of head cases introduced to the locker room, the pressure to win now, the loss of other quality coaches around this young coach, and a young quarterback who we don't know what Jared Goff is yet. And a year for the league to adjust. Man, this is going to be fun. We got to come up with a good bet with the Rams dudes, man.
And we will. It's already on their radar, too. I heard that James dropped my Tyler Lockett jersey in the mail here recently, so I'm excited to be getting that. Should be getting it shortly. Excited to see their 3-cone video.
Yeah, good on James for coming through.
Yeah,
on their bet. That's amazing. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Hey, we did it for them, and they reciprocated. I like how this is going. We should keep it up.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, let's get to the second half of the show.
Sounds good, man.
And we are getting into the second half of the show. You know, we talk about how our show is in so many places that you really can't miss it. It's now on the Amazon Echo devices.
Wow, really?
Yeah. All you have to do is say enable, get in the flock.
That's it.
It'll subscribe you to our show.
I don't know, man. This is some dangerous technology.
Yeah.
But do it anyways. And especially once the season starts up, you're going to want that.
And
that's when Brandon gets drunk and just slurs for an entire podcast. It's really cool.
This is false advertising now.
Might be fake news.
But just another way to listen to the show. I mean, you have your phone, you have Spotify. There's multiple ways to listen to the show. I can't believe. And so if somebody tells you, hey, what's a good Seahawks show to listen to? You say, hey, do you have an Amazon Echo? Do you have a phone? Do you have, I don't know, what else are we on? A computer? Like, there's multiple things. Like, there's no way to not listen to the show, really.
Have you heard of the internet?
Yeah, we're everywhere.
We're everywhere. Ubiquitous.
Well, and we have Seahawkers from everywhere coming together for the Seahawkers annual banquet coming up here May 26th. If you've been putting off getting tickets, you better do it soon. I just got a message from Bernie Hawk, and he said there's still a few tickets left, but time's running out. You better get to it. And it sounds like they're getting ready to announce some special guests, too. So as soon as that happens, the tickets, they're probably not going to be there anymore.
Those will be gone right quick. And pretty cool experience if you've never gone. I totally recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
And Seahawks players there. Last year, we were staying at the same hotel that the Seahawks rookies were staying at. So we're walking through the lobby, and it's like, oh, hey, it's Amaro Darboh and Nazir Jones. It was kind of neat.
They didn't stop and say, oh, hey, there's Brandon Schultz from the Seahawkers podcast.
Maybe they were just too nervous to come by and say hi.
Clearly. Mainly because your beard is so strong. I think that's why.
Yeah. But see, if I saw Will Dissly there, he would go, hey, there's another dude from Montana.
Exactly.
Because we just know.
Come on, Will. Come on the show, dude. Don't leave your Montanans hanging out or just out hanging to dry. Can't do that.
Can't do it. Well, let's move on by welcoming some new members of the flock. And our member of the flock this week, Shayla Taylor, in for $5. And we'll be getting patches in the mail this week. So if you get in at the $5 level, that's part of the deal.
Welcome, Shayla. And I know you just said you sent out a bunch of patches.
For everybody who was a member of the flock prior to us actually getting patches, I caught up all the group of people who said that they wanted patches.
Correct.
And got them mailed out this week.
That's
it was
awesome,
probably
man.
about 50 different envelopes.
Wow.
And I finally got through the box of Costco envelopes that I bought. It was a box of 500 envelopes, and they were all the licking envelopes kind.
Oh.
Fortunately, Costco they've changed the envelope. Now they're the peel and stick kind. So I'm happy about that.
An upgrade to your tongue.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's probably a few of you that, the envelopes that I sent out, my tongue was paper cut several times by those envelopes.
So there might be a little pink on there. Have you never heard of just taking a sponge and wiping across there?
Oh, that's what, I don't know, people from North Dakota do.
That's exactly right. Because if you stick your tongue out like that, it'd freeze.
Yeah.
The joke is it's cold in North Dakota.
Yeah, and they're weenies.
Yeah. Well, and dumb. Because every state's got a state that's the butt of all their jokes, right? North Dakota happens to be Montana's butt of every joke.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Like, I was in Washington this last weekend, and Montanans and sheep were the butt of every joke when I was over there.
Oh, that's where they go with that.
It's like, I don't hardly see sheep out here. It's all cattle, dude.
It's because all the sheep have run away.
True fact.
All right. Well.
So get in the flock. Be cool.
Yeah.
Sign up. Be a little flocker. Want to welcome Shayla's being a little flocker. And we get to that 300 members of the flock, we will start doing post-game shows directly after the game. Brandon and I will sit down and come to you direct and that same evening. So if you would like more content to be available, that's how you get it done. Get in the flock.
Getintheflock.com. Although I'm kind of wondering if it's going to wait until 2019 now.
What's that?
Our post-game recaps.
Why is that?
Because we were up at 255 members of the flock. Now we're down to every month rolls over and you see some people drop off. Now we're back down to 245.
Oh, dude.
I know. Every time it feels like we're gaining ground, we slip back.
This is where your grit is tested. And that's what we need to do, Brandon. We just need to stick to it. Nose to the grind. So have faith in the listeners and all the little flockers that are a member of the flock, and have faith that there'll be more little flockers that flock to us.
Well, we'll see. I do have a Pete Carroll autographed mini helmet to give away too once we get to 300.
Right. So whoever that person is.
Well, all the 300 people will be thrown in. We'll draw a name out of the 300.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I know how we do these things.
Yeah. So that way, because what's the incentive going to be then if somebody wants to be member number 246?
No, it makes way more sense. Yeah, you're 100% right on this. Like you clearly put more thought into it than I did. which is basically the crux of this whole show.
Well, we appreciate the thoughtfulness of our listeners on iTunes as well, and that's why we read the reviews. Got one in here from Australia.
Oh.
Bender Down Under says, Seahawks fans, tune in. Sydney is a long way from Seattle, and 12's news is hard to find. Adam and Brandon mix lots of humor with real conversations about our Hawks. No one does over 200 shows unless they enjoy it, and these guys are the best. Dig into the archives and listen to the 15 Seahawks everyone must know, especially number 2, the Boz. Great show, guys. Go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks, man. Thank you very much. And the reviews are helpful. It does keep us ranked higher, I believe. I don't know. It's all a little hocus pocus.
Yeah, I think
iTunes doesn't really tell you crap. But I think it helps.
It helps us feel good.
Well, yeah, that too. And then also, I mean, I don't know about you, Brandon, when I'm going through podcasts and looking ones to listen to, if I'm looking in a certain genre, if there's one with a lot of positive reviews, like I'm more apt to give that a try.
And that's the way it does work. And Bender Down Under brought up our top 15. So if you go to Seahawkerspodcast.com/top 15, that'll take you to our website where we have those top 15 shows. You can check them out.
And they are evergreen and entertaining. So definitely check those out. And then also too, we'll read bad reviews. So if you want to make fun of me, here's your chance.
It's true. And people have done that before.
They have. It was okay. Everybody lived. Nobody died.
Yeah. Go figure. I guess the only thing out of date, though, with you mentioned them being evergreen, Kenny Easley now is a Hall of Famer, and not because we specifically left off the Seahawks Hall of Famers from our top 15 list because those are guys you already should know.
Correct.
And we talked about the rest of the players you should know. Kenny Easley was number 1. And he ended up making the Hall of Fame.
You know what? That just validates the list.
It's true.
So honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think we screwed up.
No, but it kind of makes me think we should have maybe had somebody like Mike Holmgren at number 2 because he's going to make the Hall of Fame someday. And Jacob Green, maybe he should have been up higher. See, he's the next Seahawks player.
I'm not ready to rehash the list, so okay. I can't really help you with that.
Okay. Well, shout out to Max Webb on YouTube. Left us a note, said, I'm so excited the Hawks got Shaquem. He's going to bring so much more than a physical talent. He's going to bring a powerful new motivation and strength to the locker room. I'm also very excited about Rashad Penny. It's very interesting watching his tape. He's built and runs like Barry Sanders. I'm interested to see how the battle between him and Chris Carson will go. Trey Flowers is a guy who I see being good a few years down the road. Overall, I not love this draft class. Still very concerned about the receiver/tight end position.
That's interesting that he feels so concerned about those two position groups. Look, with Baldwin and Lockett and then whoever else you throw out there, I'm fine at receiver.
Sure.
And then when it comes to the tight end group, Ed Dixon is a professional. And he'll play well. Now, I think the competition between Disley and Vannett, if anything, like worst case scenario, that brings out the best in Vannett. Mm-hmm. You know, somebody else that we spend pretty high draft capital on. Or maybe they both Disley and Vannett do well with Dixon, and now we got 3 tight ends that we can move around out there and just shove it down people's throats.
Right.
Love that idea too. So I guess I'm not desperate to get playmakers out there. I mean, we discussed this before a little bit. I mean, Tom Brady will take Deion Branch and make him a Hall of Famer, right? Russell Wilson has that same sort of skill set. So short of Baldwin and Lockett, like I think they're excellent players. Short of Baldwin, really? Like he's the only one that I'm like, you got to have that guy, at least one, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of fill in.
And just because we had, a top talent like Jimmy Graham the past few years, that's really not traditionally how the Seahawks had used the tight end. So I see people concerned about the touchdown production that Jimmy Graham offered. Between having an improved run game, hopefully, to where you can actually punch it in from inside the 5-yard line. That's
the idea, is that you're now cramming it into the end zone with your running back rather than trying to, post Jimmy Graham up all the time.
Yeah. And you got big dudes with Ed Dixon and Disley who could probably catch a touchdown pass here and there, too.
But I'm glad he's fired up for a couple of the picks there, and appreciate the comments on YouTube.
In fact, he mentioned Barry Sanders. You called Rashad Penny Barry Sanders light.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have nearly the wiggle
that
Barry Sanders does. Not even close.
That's why I think you use the word light.
Yeah, and honestly, that probably wasn't the greatest comp.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to think of. I mean, honestly, he does remind me a lot of Pro Size.
Yeah. Well, the one that Rob used, and it made me think of you, was DeMarco Murray.
Oh, he looks nothing like DeMarco Murray.
Oh wait, not Rob. Sam Gold.
Oh, okay. Well, still looks nothing like DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the one cut and go style kind of between the tackles, but I mean, Penny has way more speed than Murray, way more elusiveness in the open field than Murray. Like, they're not even in the same league when you look at that aspect of their game, let alone catching the football.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing that I forgot to mention. It was interesting when I was looking back, because I was curious the last time the Seahawks actually drafted a player out of Washington. Mm-hmm. Tight end Jeremy Stevens in 2002 with Mike Holmgren.
Let's hope it goes better than that.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's get on to do better and better at life.
All right, man.
My do better this week is for the part of the draft that probably bothered me more than any other part of the draft. You know, the NFL and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hyped up this Parrot being part of the announcement on day 3 of the NFL draft. And all the Parrot did was just sat there on the lady's shoulder. And I was upset about that. But then what set me off even more is Patricia Norton, the founder and CEO of Florida Exotic Bird Sanctuary, who it's where Jaja, this parrot, calls home. She saw the internet hate about the parrot, about how everybody was expecting something that they didn't get. And she got mad. And she said to have these people say, well, we thought it would fly through the stadium. Unbelievable that somebody would think I would put my bird at risk, she said for the win. My biggest thing I have to say, how on earth could anyone think that I could have taught her the name of the pick in 30 seconds? And because people thought, well, because the headline was that this bird was going to, quote, deliver the pick. So what did they have it do for delivering the pick? Well, the person who brought out the parrot on her shoulder, the envelope was just tucked a little bit underneath the claws of the parrot. Although the lady was holding the envelope there just along with it. So I don't know how much the parrot actually delivered the pick. And then apparently it was also trained to say "Go Bucks" at the end, which we never heard because I guess they were going to have it say "Go Bucks" after everybody was cheering, which if you've watched any of the draft, you know that people are going to cheer after making the pick. If you're going to go through all that trouble, apparently there was 5 weeks of training that went in to this event for this parrot. 5 weeks of training, and this is what we get. If you're going to have it say "Go Bucks," have it say "Go Bucks" before the pick's announced. If you're going to say it's going to deliver the pick, have it do something more than just have the card just barely attached under the hook when the human carrying the bird is actually holding the card anyway. For this entire parrot incident, do better.
You know, it's funny. I mean, you think in 5 weeks you could train the parrot to hold the envelope in its beak as you walked out there.
Right?
Like that seems reasonable. I understand not being able to teach the parrot the name, right? Okay, that's fine.
If you thought that the parrot was going to say the actual person's name, that's really high expectations.
Yeah, I needed to execute the "Go Bucks," though. That needed to get done.
That would have at least redeemed it somewhat if the parrot would have said "Go Bucks" before, delivering the pick.
Right. So, but here's the other thing. Like, all this hoopla needs to go away. I am so sick and tired of watching some ex-player come up there and be like, about something completely unrelated about themselves or whatever, and then be like, and then act all excited that they're up there. Just enough. Like, just have a dude walk out there and be like, with pick, 86, the Seattle Seahawks select who the catfish ever from, no catfish, swear state. Just do that. Like, can we just clean this up and speed it up?
You didn't like the curlers delivering the pick?
I'm over it, man. Like, this is getting out of control. Dolphins and stuff. And like, I don't need it. Like, I understand, like, the first round needs to be an event and that's going to go slow.
Yeah.
And there's going to be all the production that goes into that.
Well, and you need the extra time for the picks, 15-minute picks for the first round guys.
Right. 2nd through 7, we can get this show on the frickin' road, right?
You'd think so.
Like when I'm sitting there watching the draft coverage of the day 2, and basically they're 5 picks behind announcing the picks because they got to get through all their hoopla of all these late round picks. Let's go. Like, I mean, how are we 5 picks behind announcing the picks?
Oh yeah, I was just watching them come in on NFL.com because that way you could see them as they happened rather than on the TV.
Right. Yeah, let's get rid of the hoopla. Get right to the point.
It's settled. We'll do that next year.
All right. Speaking of getting rid of the hoopla, getting right to the point.
Mm-hmm.
My do better this week is for yet another Dallas dumbass. And title of the article from Blogging the Boys, which I imagine is an SB Nation site. Cowboys News, : no show by Earl Thomas in Seattle fuels Thomas to Dallas rumors. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, you're the one trying to fuel the rumors of Earl Thomas to Dallas. I got an idea. Do you want to know if Earl Thomas is going to Dallas or not? Maybe listen to Pete Carroll and John Schneider at the end of the draft. Earl Thomas is our guy. Earl's with us. Earl's going to be with us. Like, I mean, they couldn't have been more freaking clear about this. And on top of all of that, he didn't show up to phase 2, which is what? Voluntary. Exactly. Just like he didn't show up to phase 1 because it is voluntary. Look, if you want to try to write the story, wait till he doesn't show up for something that's mandatory. Right. Okay? Then maybe you have a story, but not now. You don't have a story through phase 1. You don't have a story through phase 2. You don't have a story for the rest of this year. Just shut the catfish up about Earl Thomas going to the Dallas Cowboys. It ain't happening. To Tom Ryle of Blogging the Boys, do better.
I saw a lot of people trying to continue this Earl Thomas story even after the draft. And why would Earl Thomas want to go to the Cowboys now after they disrespected him by not even thinking that he's worth a 2nd round pick?
Correct.
I mean, that's disrespect.
Absolutely.
They clearly don't want him.
Well, and not only that, but you're disrespecting John Schneider if you don't offer him at least a first for Earl Thomas.
Apparently, the reports were that the Cowboys called the Seahawks around their 3rd round pick, and Schneider just didn't even answer the phone.
No, you catfished up. I'm sorry. This story made me drop a lot of F-bombs, but I'm mad. I'm so tired of this dumb story.
We thought that once day 2 of the draft was over, that the story would be dead.
Especially when John and Pete come out and are like, he's one of us. He's our guy. He's not going anywhere. Like, I don't know how much more explicit they could have gotten.
Well, as soon as we re-sign him, Dallas fans will start thinking, "Oh, we're doing a sign and trade now."
Exactly.
It won't end.
God, it's a story that never ends.
Hey, Dallas, if you really wanted him, give up a 1st and a 3rd, but you didn't.
You're not gonna, because it's over.
So go away.
Be gone. Enjoy missing the playoffs again this year.
All right, on to my better at life. And my better at life this week is going to Paul Witt, who passed away this past week. And you're probably wondering, who's Paul Witt? What does he have to do with the Seahawks? The answer is
interesting.
Yeah, nothing. He doesn't have anything to do with the Seahawks. Although, unless you include Trey Flowers and my affinity for Golden Girls, because Paul Witt was the producer of such TV comedies as The Golden Girls and Soap. And I don't know if you've heard of Soap or not, but
so just Golden Girls.
Soap was a good show. It was before our time, but one of my mom's favorite shows. And also, I think he had something to do with Empty Nest and Blossom. So he'd been involved with TV for a while. But Golden Girls he was producer of the Golden Girls. I know it's gotten to be kind of a thing in our Ring of Honor group to poke fun at me for my.
For the way that the internet has tried to make you a Golden Girls fan.
Yeah. Especially on Pinterest.
Yeah, because you just keep getting suggestions, right?
Although you know what, it's stopped. The weird thing about Pinterest now is that I'm getting suggestions for prom hairdos.
What?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what the next thing that you're going to be getting Pinterest suggestions for, like paperclip art or like botany books. Like what? I don't know. It's the most random stuff I can think of.
It went from Golden Girls to Rob Lowe, and then from Rob Lowe it went to Judd Nelson, and then Tom Cruise.
What are you doing on the internet?
But then I got Russell Wilson, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
We're back on track. Okay, yeah.
And then it went to prom hairdos,
and nobody knows what's next.
And now then sports humor is what came next. So it's all over the map.
Yeah,
but it kind of it worked for Golden Girls. I mean, I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah,
and so there was a little bit of sadness there when I saw that Paul Witt, producer of Golden Girls, passed away this past week. Family requests that donations be made to St. Jude Children's Hospital. So good if you're a Golden Girls fan. A way to pay your respects. And to Paul Witt, I pay my respects. Better at life than Skip Bayless.
A very prestigious honor for the posthumous. It'd be a posthumous honor? Is that
posthumous
what you're
honor? Yeah.
Well played, Mr. Witt. Well played.
You put it together a good show.
Yes. All right. My Better at Life this week is for none other than Mr. Doug Baldwin. And it's not just because he was number 99 on the NFL's top 100, although I still can't understand how he keeps going down the rankings, even though he keeps continuing to get better on the field. So that's puzzling. But this is for his work off the field, and I'm not the only one to acknowledge this. King County has just given Doug Baldwin the MLK Medal of Distinguished Service, which recognizes, quote, those who have gone above and beyond in their efforts to make a difference in communities across King County, an answer to Dr. King's question, what are you doing for others? And a pretty cool award, and it recognizes a lot of different things that Doug has been involved with. Number one, just him trying to be a liaison between law enforcement and folks that were protesting law enforcement and trying to do good work there. And I think he was instrumental to that with his dad being involved in law enforcement. So, just that part right there was a big deal. But he's also involved in some other things that maybe you didn't know about. For the last 3 years, he's been working with city leaders in Renton, and they will open in 2020 the Family First Community Center. Mm-hmm. And they won't just have like academic support, like tutors, things like that, and athletic activities for kids to participate in. But they're also partnering with a nonprofit health center called Health Point. And they'll also provide some health services at the community center as well. And that's something he's been at the forefront of, which I think is a really, really cool way to help impact your community off the field, and a really neat thing. Another thing that he's been involved with was a fund that the Seahawks set up to help work on relations with law enforcement. I'm drawing a blank on what it's called right now.
Oh, the Seahawks Players Equality and Justice for All Action Fund.
Thank you. They just put out their first 7 grants that they were using to help promote those sort of things, and just another thing that Doug Baldwin's doing off the field. And I think one of the more serious, well thought Seahawks that we have, and somebody that I definitely kind of feel a connection to that way. I just think he's an amazing guy and is doing great work in the community. Obviously, I'm not the only one that thinks that. So to Doug Baldwin, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, one of the things that Players Action Fund did here recently is it partnered with Pearl Jam in the band's effort to fight homelessness in Seattle, too. So it's cool that they're partnering up with another, Seattle-based band.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, though, seeing Doug kind of turn it and almost turn this award into a negative. And in fact, he said as much. He said playing devil's advocate.
He's my kindred Debbie Downer, Yeah.
Yeah, he said playing devil's advocate. I look at it as a negative, that there's still such a need for people to advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves. In a society that's so advanced with technology and advanced thought, the fact that we're still so desperately in need of people to advocate for others, it's disheartening at times.
Yeah, it sounds like Doug, does it not?
Yeah, it does.
Little angry Doug Baldwin there?
A little bit in there. Yeah. Although we've been referring to him as Elite Doug Baldwin now.
No. And I keep shooting it down. It is Angry Doug Baldwin. It has been Angry Doug Baldwin. It will forever be Angry Doug Baldwin. Just stop trying to change his nickname.
We're changing it.
No.
He's not angry. He's passionate. He's said that many times.
Well, this I can relate to, but it's Angry Doug Baldwin. That's the nickname.
All right.
Stop it. Do better.
You were just trying to change Will Dissly's nickname earlier.
I just was giving him another one. I wasn't changing an existing one.
Okay, well, Elite Doug Baldwin can be his other nickname.
You're changing the nickname. There's a fundamental difference.
I don't see where the difference is, honestly.
Yeah? You don't see that like the majority of the phrase like matches up?
It's similar.
Yeah.
For the first of the month, we shout out to all our monthly contributors of $12 or more. Like rolling the credits at the end of the movie. So a big thanks to associate producer Dustin Mock, DCH in Sparks, Nevada, Ron in San Francisco, Ella in Woodway, Texas, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Mark in Curup, Western Australia, Ross in Eureka, California, Jameson in Murray, Utah, Summer in Vancouver, Washington, Roe in Federal Way, David in Camas, Washington, James in Linwood, Sven in Teltow, Deutschland, Tim in Austin, Texas, Keith in Covington, Washington, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, Sam in Altadena, California, Craig in Camas, Christian in Bergen, Norway, Young in Anchorage, Crystal in Oldsmere, Florida, Paul in Jacksonville, North Carolina, John in New York City, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, got Dave in Hong Kong, Glenn in St. Cloud, Florida, Joshua in London, Garrett in Northern Ontario, Kevin in Keene, Texas, David in Newberry, South Carolina, Lisa in Seattle, Mike in Anchorage, Alaska, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Washington, Kathy in Eureka, California, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Thomas in the Bronx, Annalisa in New York City, John Paul in Palmer, Alaska, Gary in Chappaqua, New York, Becca in Manhattan Beach, California, Taylor in Englewood, Colorado, and Craig in Pasco, Washington.
Man, what a list. I will say this, though. I really hope that Lisa Carlson gets a sitcom someday that's entitled Lisa in Seattle and that you sing the intro.
We can drop that in there.
One more time for me. Let's
Lisa
hear those sultry tones.
Lisa in Seattle.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
It could be your very own jingle.
I like it. You're going to have to put that on the new soundboard app that you got figured out.
Yeah.
We can just drop Lisa in Seattle.
Yeah, I'll have to come up with a better tune for it.
Every time she emails in and stuff. Yeah. No, that one was perfect.
That was perfect?
That was the one. Nailed it.
I don't even need to try it anymore.
No. Well, yeah, you do.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. And Lisa in Seattle.
Lisa in Seattle. Am I better like cracker?
Man, this cracker's kicking your ass.